LifePixers, hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? Woohoo! Today we will. But before we get into today's episode, if you didn't take the mindset or productivity assessment, you'll want to go and do that now at lifepixuniversity.com/mindset. Now, today's episode is a super interesting one where we talk about raising good humans, how it affects values, affect your marriage, raising kids, and even your business challenges, loss of family members, and suicide. All that gets discussed in here, and you can go and make your relationship extraordinary with that info. Today's couple have gone through all of that, and based on older life experiences, create an extraordinary business. I really say that not just out of using the word extraordinary because of an extraordinary marriage, but really as financial advisors of the Mitlins Finance. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They've created based on their losses and their values. So thank you, Larry and Denise, for being here. I am super excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
So we actually met online 20 plus years ago when it wasn't super cool and everyone was doing it. If you see the name behind us, Mitlin, Larry actually named his company that and his podcast because it turned out we met within my grandfather passing away and Larry's mom within 24 hours of each other before we knew each other. So once we knew each other, my mother said that it was Bashem, which is Hebrew for meant to be. And then when 17 years ago, when Larry founded his company, he took my grandfather's name, which was Mitchell, and his mother's name, which was Linda. And that's the name we see and live by every day.
Oh, wow. So your grandfather died at 24 hours before, or?
I think your mom passed away first. Yeah,
I'm not sure, but basically the long and the short of it is when we met several months later, we were reconciling where we had been for the previous months. And we started, she was like, oh, my grandfather passed away. I was like, oh, my mom passed away. And as we started digging a little bit deeper and talking about it more, it turns out that my mom and her grandfather passed away literally within hours of each other. Probably within 12 hours of each other. And we would both were home and back where we were because of their passings. And like Denise said, we like to think that somewhere along the lines, maybe they met up with each other and, they were the reasoning behind us coming together. And that's why we named the company the way we did, is to honor them, because a lot of the values and the way they live their lives are how we as a firm want to operate and, work with the families that we serve.
Yeah, I noticed some of your values are really interesting and unique that I want to get to soon. But now I'm just curious. Tell me, you were like going through this like grieving process. You felt ready to get into a relationship so quick, or?
Well, it was probably about 4 or 5, 6 months later. I already had left town, so to speak, and went to Colorado for a little bit, and then came back to working on Long Island. So
we moved in together after 6 months and spent every day together after our second date.
So that was just a long answer to say, yes, it was fine.
My parents literally helped us move in together after we were together for 6 months and had been together and really spoken to each other every day since our second date. So now he's giving the appropriate dad answer because we have teenage sons.
Oh, how many kids do you have?
We have 2 boys. They are 15 and 18 and both currently at school chasing their dreams.
What they going for?
Our 18-year-old son goes to LeBeau School of Business at Drexel in Philadelphia and plays ice hockey for their club team. And our 15-year-old son goes to Shattuck St. Mary in Faribault, Minnesota, chasing his dream playing ice hockey for their Hockey School of Excellence.
Cool. Ooh, I like these supportive parents. Okay, so take us back to those early days. How was your relationship different than how it is today?
Well, we're a few years older,
more
wiser.
Sometimes
we're actually, we've actually somewhat to some degree gone back to where we were. We've kind of come full circle because when we were first together, there were no kids around the house. We were leaving the house in the morning, no kids around, coming home with no kids around. And that's where we're back at today, until they come home for break. So things to some degree have come full circle in that regard.
Yes, we
get
now.
better.
We now work early and late, Monday through Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the week. If you were to come to our house, we'd both be sitting there, usually with hockey on in the background, dueling laptops. But come that Thursday or Friday, since we dropped the boys off in August, every weekend we travel to watch them play hockey. So during the weekdays, we get to be empty nesters. And on the weekends, we get to go watch our boys do what they do.
Well, we're still empty nesters. We're just in a hotel empty nesting.
It's true.
I've a lot funner, no? Real supportive parents.
And we are officially Delta frequent flyer miles, and perks do come with flying with the same airline. So
that's cool. So what does that do to your relationship? The fact that you're like flying so much and not really home and
Well, in reality, it's actually better now, because prior to that, when both the boys were home and in school here locally and playing hockey here on Long Island, for many, many years, she and I would see each other during the week. And then on the weekends, she went with one son, I went with another son. And a lot of times that meant we were in different states a lot of times.
For about a decade.
Yeah. So we did that for about 10 years,
About a decade.
where we were in different places on the weekends. But, and again, to your listeners, during the week, it was fine, because although you think that we went to work, we work, but we happen to both work in the same office. So we see each other all day, every day. So it was almost like, we would see each other all week, and then the weekends would just be a little bit of we'd be apart for those few days. So
actually, I joke, I'll interrupt you. There were a couple of Valentine's days that we would go to lunch, and I swore the waiter thought I was his mistress, because why would you be Valentine's Day for lunch and not dinner? And it's like, because on actual Valentine's Day, I'm going to be in Chicago with our younger son. So there have been a couple times we've gone out to lunch when it was our birthday or anniversaries, because one of us going to be with the kids, where I swear the waiter thought that I was his mistress and not his wife.
So now with the kids away, we have a lot more time together, because we're not having to worry about being in different states. But when we do, we're together. So it's good.
Almost like newlyweds again.
We have a lot more than we had when we were newlyweds. A lot more resources. We travel better now.
Oh God, it's like crazy life. Your kids like recognize what you do for them.
I think they do.
More and more they do.
I think they do. And they're very appreciative. And I think as they get older, they're understanding more and more. And I think as they get older and reflect back, it'll be even more prominent to them. But I think they have a pretty good handle on it at current.
I think the thing they're showing us in real life, in real time, is although they both love the sport they play, they're both taking their schooling very seriously. They both had averages above a 90 while adjusting to living away from home never before. So I think the fact that they're both taking schooling very seriously, which we've all heard stories about, freshmen in high school who literally forget to go to class. The fact that our children understand that we're paying private school tuition and that, we've sacrificed for that. I think they both show us by taking their schooling and hockey. Our older son gets up at 5:30 in the morning at college 2 days a week to go to ice hockey practice.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think they had good role models, people who take their relationships so well and their work and their kids, like everything, making sure to prioritize everything in the right way and not letting any of the balls drop.
Absolutely.
Our goal has always been to raise good humans.
So it's always
that's the nicest that we get when people say that they're kind young men. I mean, our boys will hold the door for you. If you don't say thank you, they'll probably say you're supposed to say thank you. So they got a little bit of my snip, but they will absolutely hold the door for you. Oh, and carry my bags through an airport. I don't carry my bags anymore.
Your mom, good thing you have two boys, right? And not two girls.
Yeah, well, when they're around, I get to do it. So I get double baggage duty.
Bag through the airport. Actually, both boys have been known when they're home from break now. They cook their girls dinner. I taught my mom, who helped us by taking care of them when they were little, taught the boys how to cook, so they can come and make you a steak dinner if you're going to come hang out. So
I can't wait to meet their wives. Yeah, they're going to be lucky ones. Okay. So I'm going to guess that part of the reason why they are such good young men is because of you had similar values to the ones that you have in your business.
Yes.
I found them really interesting when I was doing a little bit of research on you. Really different than what most financial advisors, I guess, is that. I don't know if I'm like saying something that you don't want people to say, or you do go by that.
Wealth advisor, financial advisor. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of terms. They're used sometimes incorrectly, sometimes correctly, and it's hard to discern. So whatever you feel is appropriate is fine by me. I'll answer.
Okay. So what are some of the values that you run on? And more specifically, first, why do you pick those?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, again, going back to, the story behind the name of the firm being Mitlin, I feel like and to kind of answer your last question first, we feel like we have an obligation to the people and the namesake of the firm to make sure that we're delivering and doing things in a way that's consistent with their namesake, right? So, my Denise's grandfather, Mitchell, was a veteran. He was a New York City police officer. He was married to the same woman his entire life. Real nice guy, upbeat. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I've learned about him through the stories that have been given.
The kind of grandpa who would buy the whole block when the ice cream truck came. That was my grandpa. If Papa Mikey was outside, the entire block got ice cream from the ice cream truck. Like, that's just who he was.
And similarly, my mom, unfortunately, she had a long battle with cancer and ultimately succumbed to that disease at the early age of 47. But she was such a well-respected person. People looked up to her, the friendships that she was able to create. The fact that at a late age, I think in her 30s, she ended up going back and getting bat mitzvahed. Even though she was brought up Jewish, she was never bat mitzvahed. And it was really important for her to do that in her 30s and was in a class to get that. At the synagogue we belonged to, they commissioned an artist to create a sculpture in her memory. So, these are the types of people, the MIT, Mitchell, LIN, Linda, these are the people that are namesakes after. So it's important for us to have values that align with that. Otherwise, I think to some degree, we're doing them a disservice and letting them down.
Yeah. So you picked those values that you do, like being humble and open-minded. Those are like ones that.
Well, I think that I'll add that as a spouse, before Larry founded Mitlin, he worked for some of the biggest financial institutions, out there. I'm not going to name them, but you would hear some of the conference calls back in the day, and it was all about sell this, make them buy that. And he was really taken aback by that, like to a point when we were first married over 20 years ago, that he's like, I don't know that I want to do this for a living. But it wasn't that he didn't want to help people figure out their path. It was that he didn't want to do it this way. He didn't want to sell stuff. He wanted to take care of people. And when he finally said to me, I can't do this anymore, Denise, this way. I have to do it my way. The longer part of that story is he was ready to break off, and my brother died by suicide. We had office space. He had everything. And he came to me and he goes, well, I can't do this. And I said, no, yes, you can, because Keith would want you to. And he literally opened Mitlin doors within a month of my brother dying by suicide. And he's also taken that as a mission in his life. So the path to creating the firm was really a lot about who he is, because he wanted to help people, but help them in a way that made sense for them, not because it was the product someone else wanted to sell or someone else's bottom line.
And to that point, right, we want to attract certain clients, right? Certain types of people. And I think by having the value structure that we have and kind of what we're in alignment with, that resonates with certain people, and that resonates with the people we want to work with. And if it doesn't resonate with people, then we don't want to work with them, because if they don't understand and feel compelled by our values and how we operate, then it's probably not a good fit. And it's if we filled up the families that we serve with people like that, we would be miserable at work every day. It wouldn't be as energizing and as rewarding as it is. But luckily, we've been able to fill, and align with the right people and the right families. And we're serving families every day, and it energizes us and really adds a lot of, meaning to our lives, knowing that we're helping these folks, deliver and reach towards the goals that they want to strive for.
These are people who the very first thing they do when they call is ask how his sons were. I mean, for the most part, they've become part of our family. When 2019, the year before the world shut down, our younger son chose, instead of a big giant like New York style bar mitzvah party, we took a trip to South Africa. And every night I updated a Facebook album because the families that he supported wanted to see that and wanted to experience. And there were 4 or 5 people who every night were commenting on the photos. And when he said, hey, I'm going to be out of the office for 2 weeks, it was, oh my God, have an unbelievable time. I can't wait to hear for your trip. And I don't know how much sort of stalking you did, but the very first meeting someone would have with this firm would be called, is it a fit? And people are always shocked when Rose, Larry's admin, who's amazing, is never, oh, bring your statements. It's come in and have a conversation. And people are sort of taken aback by that. But Larry really wants people who, that connection is there, that you feel that you're on the same page, because you can't serve everyone, but you want to serve people that you connect with. And I think that people don't sort of get that, because as you said, the term financial advisor is just so overused that this isn't transactional, it's relationship. So you want to find the right person to have that long-standing relationship with. It's been awesome for Larry to see some clients' kids get married.
Yeah. And I mean, I could share something that happened today, right? So this is a fairly new family that we're working with and serving. They came aboard last year. Actually, somebody that I'm aware of and knew of for about 15 years. Him and his family weren't in a position to utilize our services, but they had an event in their life that they had questions and they needed assistance. So they reached out, and then they were a really good fit for us. And I had a half-hour call scheduled with them today. We literally spent 25 minutes talking about his daughter who's studying abroad now in London, his son who's a junior in high school looking at colleges. He was asking about my son and talking to me about other kids that he knows that played hockey at a higher level, wanting to know if I knew them and about their route, asking me about where my older son goes, my younger, literally 25 minutes. And then 5 minutes was the question he had and solving that problem. And then we were done, but that to me is really indicative of the types of families we're working with. It's like, it's important to get their questions answered and those financial decisions made. And really, if it was a really high level decision, we could have taken much longer than that half hour if needed, of course, but we didn't need it. It was a quick question, but it was nice to just have a conversation, not about the financial part, and kind of check in and see how everybody's doing. And that's what it's all about. We look at the families that we serve as an extension of our personal family, as an extension of the Mitlin family. We want everybody comfortable and working together in that, in that regard.
Yeah, it's much more meaningful going home every day, like knowing that you're, first of all, serving from your values, but also you're giving to those people what they need. Like, I have no idea what those 20 minutes of speaking about his children, what that actually did to him and to his day, and obviously to your relationship.
Sure.
So that's really, really beautiful. Now, I want to just go back for a second to what you said about the suicide of your brother, Keith.
Yes.
How did that affect your relationship when that happened?
Probably first and foremost, I understood Larry lost his mom. He was 22. And I think that I started to understand that on a different level, right? She wasn't there when we got married. My brother was. She wasn't there when we had our first son. My brother was. We had our second son. They both weren't there. So I think that I started to understand that the sense of loss, and it's a grief that doesn't go away. And I always tell people it doesn't get easier. It gets different. And that different is somehow easier. But, my son's going to graduate college. He graduated high school and my brother wasn't there. Larry's mom wasn't there. So I think it helped me understand him on a different level. I will say that people say for better or worse. And I don't know that you mean that until the worst smacks you upside the head. My husband had to tell me my brother was dead. Those aren't easy words to say. And I went outside and I sat on my front lawn and he let me be until I came back in. And then he supported me up into any way I wanted, including spending 12 years of his life on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, spending countless hours, taking countless phone calls as he was a resource for the community. So I don't know that I answered your question completely, but I think, so we've been married for 20 plus years, right? 20 plus. Mm-hmm. 21. So I don't know that I can put a finger on that, except that we've been there for each other through ups and downs.
I think one of the things that it reinforced, obviously we didn't need it to reinforce it. We would have preferred it not happening, of course, but it reinforced, for me personally, the importance of family. Growing up with a mom who was sick from a very young age, I understood that. And I think when Keith passed away, that really reinforced how important that was, that you're not guaranteed tomorrow. You're not guaranteed the next day. And, with regard to work, there's always going to be something else we can do at the end of the day, but it's just important to cut loose and make sure we take the boys to hockey and make sure that we're spending the time with them at the rink and going away on tournaments. And if we could both go with them, we would go both with them. And fast forward to today, what we were just telling you about earlier in our conversation, right?
Yep.
It reinforces that importance. We don't have to go to Philadelphia this coming weekend and Minnesota the next weekend.
Well, it is Parents' Week.
Yeah. Okay. And Philadelphia after that. And 2 more trips to
Detroit. So the week after.
We don't have no, there's nobody saying that we have to do those. We could be parents that say, all right, our kids are at school, let's just enjoy ourselves. But listen, they're 15 and 18. They're not going to be able to, or maybe want to be with us as much as they are now. So we're going to take advantage of that. So I think that has kind of brought us closer and reinforced some of those, decision-making process, right? We all have decisions to make. Things come up and it's, do I do this or do I do that? And it's a matter of making, and what's the priority? Is the priority making another work call or not making another work call and going out and doing those things? So, I think, aside from all the other good things like us raising awareness and a lot of money for suicide prevention, which is really, for us to help others and help the world, I think it's helped us in that way as far as prioritizing what's important.
And I think to add to that it wasn't just hockey. So when our boys were babies and we weren't taking long family vacations, Larry was taking off every Friday in the summer. He had a 4-day work week in the summer. First of all, on a Friday afternoon in the summer, nobody when you live on an island wants to talk to you anyway. So it's a great use of the time. And the very first gentleman I worked for taught me that, take short Fridays, take Fridays off. Nobody wants to talk to you at 4:00 on a Friday anyway, right? They're halfway out the door.
I still have clients today, by the way, who will call in the office on a Friday in July and talk to Rose and say, oh, Larry's in? I thought he took Fridays off. I haven't done that in like 10 years, but they still think I do. So
because now we take 2-week summer vacations. But I also think that the other thing is losing my brother and having that conversation about mental health has allowed us to back to raising good humans. We raised boys who each of our children at 15 and 18 has already gotten someone they've seen help. In the midst of the pandemic, when our oldest was 17, he stayed up till 3:00 in the morning on the phone with a friend of a friend who was suicidal, who sadly, the young woman said to my son, I can't go to my parents because they told me I can't talk about this. So it's also given us the opportunity to raise men who understand it's okay to ask for help, who raise men who say, I need some help with this. I want to have a conversation with this, or even just figuring out, our older boy's away at school. What is it that triggers my anxiety? What is it that makes it uncomfortable? And how can I craft a space in the world that I'm comfortable in? So it's actually allowed us to, I know I wouldn't have parented the way I parent now. It's given us a greater perspective of raising that whole child and their whole human, especially for young men, right? Young men wouldn't typically hear that stuff or have those conversations. And we've had those when our boys were younger. They were taught their uncle died of a disease of the brain, which I believe he was bipolar. And it sort of evolved from there. But family's always been a priority. And Larry's always made it that. He used to say when the boys were younger, you run the desk or the desk runs you. And now that's sort of a broader conversation of, we've taught our boys, it's not that you don't have priority for something, is that you're not making a priority. So Larry's figured out, I have pictures from hotels now all over the US. He's figured out how to turn the desk, work effectively, turn the mic on, put the little earbuds in and work from almost anywhere.
Yeah. It's knowing back to the values, what you value and how 100%. You're going to prioritize it all. Okay. Now, what is something that you currently have a challenge in your relationship?
Our biggest challenge is often around money. I spend more than he does, Larry. So I tell people all the time that Larry practices what he teaches, right? He doesn't preach it. He teaches it. And he's always done that. Our 18-year-old son is currently going to school with money saved in a 529 plan from before he was born. Not even joking. So Larry's always had this, the money goes in the bank, and anytime it comes out, he gets hives. Our teenage sons joke that there's something called Vacation Larry. Vacation Larry, when on a Caribbean island or in Disney World or in South Africa, has no concept of money and you can buy stuff. So when we were in South Africa, they were so excited because Vacation Dad was there and one of our boys got a pair of sneakers that Larry would have never bought in his normal life. So
they're probably way more expensive because they were in South Africa.
No, they were.
Our son's a sneaker reseller kind of, so he knows the prices. And if it was that much more, he wouldn't have bought it. I will say though, 2 years later, he sold those used sneakers for just as much as we had paid for them when they were brand new. So it turned out not to be an irresponsible spend. But yeah, I have a very beautiful bracelet that we bought in St. Kitts that I'm not even sure he would have bought. He went in there with another dad and Daniel was like, it was a great deal. And Larry's like, you love it? I'm like, oh my God, I would have 4 of these up my arm if they could. He goes, oh, good, you can go buy it. And I was like, oh, who are you? Oh, you're Vacation Larry. So definitely, I mean, the good part is as we've become more successful, there's less arguing around that because it's, we're not paying our bills. We were never not paying our bills. But he's always been more of a saver and I've always been more of a, pretty shiny object. I'm going to go buy it. That's probably our biggest. Yeah, we're probably right about that.
Although he wants to move to a warmer climate and I want to sell my house. So
yeah, well, that'll be probably the next or soon to be misalignment, but we'll see. I'm having problems with the winter and cold weather, but we'll see.
Yeah, when we got married, he didn't.
We'll have to do a follow-up show for that in a couple of years. How
your whole argument played out.
How warm of a climate can. So I'm perimenopausal, so I'm hot all the time. And he went from not owning a long sleeve shirt, didn't own an overcoat we met, and used to ski in a t-shirt to he's freezing cold all the time.
Yeah, terrible.
It's
awful.
And he hates it. So eventually we'll probably have to spend our winter somewhere a little bit warmer because it's just very, very cold for him.
Yes,
but he
Florida,
used
like everybody else.
He used to love the winter so much that we own a home in Lake Placid because winter used to make him super happy. That's how
it makes me happy. I just don't. It's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold.
It used to never be
cold, right? Like you have to feel like you have to put in your whole closet before you go out the door.
I'm at a point where I feel like I have enough layers on and I go out and I'm still cold. And I'm like, how could this be? And
I have a t-shirt on under my winter jacket.
I'm looking at heated sweatshirts, heated underwear these days. I don't know. It's crazy.
All of it.
Yes.
Well, hopefully soon will be the summer.
Yes, it's coming quick. Thank you.
Like, actually, I told him outside today.
I told him the next time he's cold, just pull up the winter where our younger son is. It's currently -11 in Faribault, Minnesota. So,
right, can't complain.
No.
It's colder winter. Although you are going there next Thursday, so
are you getting heated underwear? Gosh, okay. Well, before we get to our final question, where do LifePixers connect with you and learn more about you?
Oh, it's super easy. Mitlin Financial is branded pretty much all over social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Mitlin Money Mindset is on LinkedIn and Twitter. It's on Twitter as Mitlin Money. And Larry is Lawrence Sprung everywhere except for Instagram, because on Instagram, he's Larry Sprung.
That was before I hired my social media director.
Oh,
he had branded himself not matching.
But it's okay. People find me still.
They do. I'm Denise Milano Sprung on all 3 platforms. I use my maiden name as my middle name. So super easy to find as well.
Awesome. Okay. So how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or connection?
Commitment. You have to decide every day.
That's a good one.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or connection?
Okay. I mean, just in one word, or it could be
it could be a
word,
sentence,
just not using
paragraph. It could be whatever you want.
Usually, I'm the wordy one.
So I think I could probably just, I don't know if it's one word or two words. I'm not a vocabulist, but I'm gonna say hard work.
Hard work. Yeah, it is a lot of hard work. It's not just gonna happen.
And worthwhile.
Aw, that needs more in case I don't know if that's appropriate on camera.
We have had that before. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larry and Denise. This was fun. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for helping us with the technical issue. He was freaking out this morning. He's like, I can't get the other mic over and I don't know how to make it work. So thank you for the help with the technical issues.
Sure.
That's all for this episode of the LifePix University Podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.